Hello, today I want to tell you the story of the ice cream van saga, something that happened to me earlier this year. Now this whole thing started on May 21st with a Reddit post that I made, and this post was just kind of a casual conversation starter, just a mild complaint about an experience I had cycling across the Westminster Bridge. Now going across a bridge, what I noticed is that there were a ton of pedestrians just kind of hanging out in the cycle lane. And I just, I made this post, I posted a short video clip, and I just said, hey, I'm not taking the cycle lane on Westminster Bridge anymore because this is a mess. So here's what that video was. It's a cycle lane. Now previously this had been less of an issue because the ice cream vans would just kind of park in the cycle lane, and then cyclists would have to just kind of merge into traffic and go around them. So it was certainly annoying and somewhat dangerous because you'd have to unexpectedly merge in with traffic, but it wasn't, the word. It's something you encounter fairly often in London, not that big of a deal. But they recently put in a raised curb and bollards between the cycle lane and the rest of the traffic. So now the ice cream vans would actually just park in the normal lane, the bus lane, I guess, and their customers would queue up in the cycle lane. And the problem is with the raised curb and the bollards, you can't very easily switch over to the rest of the traffic lanes and go around these ice cream vans. And then of course their customers were now queuing up in the cycle lane. Now this post on Reddit was fairly popular. It got 200 to 300 comments, and I think currently it's the second highest upvoted post on the London cycling subreddit currently. And a lot of people are talking about how do we fix this, how do we take action on this. And so I said, okay, I'll tweet this because I have some followers on Twitter, not a ton compared to other social media, but I have a few. So I tweeted over there and tagged a bunch of the related agencies, like the Met Police and Westminster Council and all this kind of stuff. And that post really blew up. That tweet really blew up, and we got more than 30,000 views and all kinds of comments from people. This of course brought out all the anti-cycling people, the anti-LTM people, and I got all kinds of comments, like people tagging the police and saying, oh, this guy needs to be arrested, he's driving furiously at pedestrians and he's driving at children. I got a lot of people tagging like the RSPCA and the Cats Protection Charity and saying, oh, this is animal abuse, he's riding with his cat. And it turned into this whole drama. Road.cc, which is a popular cycling website and blog, kind of caught wind of this and put us in their live blog and highlighted a few of these things. About a week later, I kind of posted a little follow-up on Twitter and just posted another little video saying, hey, now I just drive in the main traffic lane. I don't bother with the cycle lane anymore. And as I showed this video, you can see very clearly like there was a bus and a trail of cars behind me because the ice cream vans were taking up one lane, I was taking up the other lane. So this got a few thousand views as well, and I think kind of added fuel to the fire of all these people complaining, right? A couple more weeks passed. Conversation kind of died out a little bit, but it's still, there were still some threads kind of going and whatnot. And then on June 13th, the Roads and Transport Police tweeted a reply to my original tweet. And then yet another week passed, and this time there's a site called My London, so it's kind of like a local news site. Posted a little article about the whole thing, about how my tweet started and how the police responded and all this kind of things. And so that was kind of fun. But then a couple of days later, someone at the BBC apparently saw that article and decided that they wanted to do one as well. And so this is where things really kind of started to heat up. So the BBC did an article, a full-on article about me and like my involvement with the ice cream trucks. And then they also invited me to go out and do a news piece.
Now, concerns have been raised by safety after a number of ice cream vans have persistently stopped on Westminster Bridge to sell desserts to tourists. TfL has issued a number of red route fines, but persistent offenders have been filmed parking on double red lines, while other drivers have been mounting the pavement. Met Police says it's working on a longer-term solution to the problem.
news piece with investigative reporter Guy Lin. And so we did. We went out for a couple of hours and met Guy and filmed the ice cream trucks. It was a whole thing. It was kind of crazy.
Now, we associate ice cream vans with fun and good weather. However, on Westminster Bridge, they're causing concern for the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. It's after some continue to park on double red lines despite being moved on by police. Guy Lin reports.
We need to follow the law as well.
Ice cream vans causing chaos on Westminster Bridge, clashing with the Met, who tell them to move on. They're breaking the law, stopping on double red lines, putting those buying the ice cream in danger, forcing them to queue in the middle of a cycle lane, and causing misery for cyclists. Like Travis and his cat. Check out what it looks like from their bike. Travis says this problem is getting worse, but has started documenting his experiences with a tiny camera.
Well, this is creating a really dangerous situation for pedestrians and cyclists, because we have these pedestrians standing around in the cycle lanes, and then we have cyclists trying to make their way through. And the pedestrians oftentimes don't even know they're in a cycle lane because they're just trying to buy ice cream. So it's really dangerous for everyone.
And you may remember this van. It's the one you just saw being moved on by the police. So you can see what's happened. The police have just told the van that they shouldn't be there, and within the last couple of minutes now, they're just back again. So you really get a sense of the problem here. And this doesn't matter just because of safety. In the shadow of Parliament and on a road that's been amended after the Westminster terror attacks, there's concern from some that this shouldn't be happening. And it's not just ice cream vans. Pedicabs are blocking the road too. Those like George don't seem particularly bothered. Why do you park on a double red line? Do you realise that it's dangerous, sir?
Yeah.
The Metropolitan Police said the vans can be issued with red route TfL fines, but was working on a longer term solution. As they said, this enforcement clearly doesn't deter them.
If you come back again today, there'll be serious consequences. No, don't come back.
Well, they can say that again. The same van, which we've seen moved on twice, is now back, once again. Guy Lin, BBC London.
So clearly this really started to catch some eyes because the BBC is obviously a big deal. So at this point I got a private message from the Met saying that they had assigned a sergeant to this issue, a new sergeant, and that they really wanted to speak with me one-on-one about how we can deal with this and maybe how I can interface with the public about what they're doing a little bit and stuff like that. And so we exchanged emails and I started talking to the sergeant. His name's Sergeant Waterhouse. And he invited me down for what they call a day of action. So they were going to kind of talk to me and explain what they're working on a little bit and how they're trying to proceed, and then also just observe them kind of cracking down on the ice cream vans. And so we did. We went down there and talked to Sergeant Waterhouse and had an interesting time.
You actually the famous gentleman with the cat in the bike?
Yeah. Wow. What do you think? Fun looking around?
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
Is this the famous Sigrid?
Yeah, and here's Sigrid.
So they can only give one red route ticket within a 24-hour period. We've looked at other rules like counter-terrorism rules that are being parked on a bridge, and there's nothing we can do about that. We've looked about towing vehicles, and we can't just tow a vehicle because it's inconvenient, and plus there are people in it, so there's a lot of issues about towing vehicles with people in it. The local Safer Neighbourhood team are looking on board as well.
And I think after that, like at this point, I kind of consider this whole thing closed for me. I've done everything I could. I've brought in quite a lot of eyes to the issue. The Met has been trying hard to tackle it. Whether or not they're going to make any long-term permanent changes, I don't know. It seems like today the ice cream vans are still parked there. But, I've moved on to bigger and better battles and whatnot. So I wanted to just kind of share the story. And there you go. That is the story.
The aftermath.